Good day, everyone. My name is Vance Kite. I am a doctoral candidate in the Department of STEM Education at NC State University, and this poster was completed in collaboration with Michelle Nugent, Sunhae Park, Roger Azevedo, Min Chi, and Michelle Taub. As you can see from the right side of the poster there, this work is a collaboration between NC State University and the University of Central Florida and is funded by the National Science Foundation. I am sad to say that I am not going to be in your presence to present this poster due to the COVID-19 closing of the NARST conference for the year, but I hope you'll take some time to check out our presentation anyway. The title of this presentation is What Does Student Engagement Look Like? Secondary Science Teachers Reported Evidence of Student Engagement. And the way I'm going to move through this presentation is that I'm just going to track down this side of the poster. We'll talk about the results via this figure right here, and then we'll talk about our conclusions and implications. So the reason that we conducted this research is that we believe effective teaching relies on teachers' abilities to gather in-the-moment data to inform their instruction. All teachers will say that their instruction is based on the data that they are taking in as they interact with their students from moment to moment. However, the work of Skilling and et al. Has shown that teachers often attend to behavioral markers. So as they are moving through their instruction day to day, the thing that they are noticing primarily is students' behavior. Unfortunately, behavioral markers are not always a good signal of cognitive engagement. They don't always show that a student is actually learning or participating in the learning process. So we hope to work on developing initiatives to support teachers to attend to multiple facets of student engagement. Our work was guided by the questions, what do secondary science teachers report as evidence of student engagement and student disengagement during science learning activities? Our work theoretically is guided by the work of Fredericks, Blumenfeld, and Paris, who classify student engagement into three categories. They denote cognitive engagement, which is students' motivation, effort, and strategy use; behavioral engagement, which is students doing work, remaining on task, following rules, and not disrupting the learning environment; and emotional engagement, students' interest, values, and motivation. Methodologically, we designed this as a survey study. The reason we chose to do this was twofold. First, as noted by Block, Fellis, and Seal, a survey allows the ability to gather a wide variety of opinions from a diverse sample of participants in a cost-effective and time-efficient manner. Second, surveys allow participants anonymity in their responses, which may incentivize them to be more honest in the information that they provide. So we built out a survey and distributed it to 1,001 secondary science teachers in all counties of our state. We sent it out via Qualtrics, and we received 115 completed surveys. Demographics of our participants were 79% white, 72% female, 77% had coursework beyond a bachelor's degree, 55% had been teaching for more than 6 years, 58% of our teachers taught in high schools, the remaining 42% were in middle schools, and 52% teach in rural areas. Those demographics fairly match the teaching demographics for our state. The data that is reported in this poster is in response to two open-ended questions. The first being, what do you consider to be evidence of student engagement? The second being, what do you consider to be evidence of student disengagement? The data was analyzed by myself and Dr. Nugent. We employed the constant comparative method, and we started with open coding, whereby we each coded the same 10% of the data to develop our initial open codes. We then discussed those and refined our codes until we had 100% agreement. After that coding of the first 10%, we then coded the same 20% of the data and employed the codes that we had developed while coding the first 10%. We refined those codes, discussed our coding of the second 20% until we reached full agreement, and the codes that were remaining from that second round of coding were employed as we each split and coded the remaining data. Our results are as follows. I want to first look at this graphic, and then we will go through the text. So in total, we received 897 individual pieces of evidence. Of those pieces of evidence, 464 pieces were evidence of positive student engagement, 433 were evidence of student disengagement. Looking at the engagement side first, of these 464 pieces of evidence, 223 we categorized as evidence of behavioral engagement. 181 we classified as evidence of cognitive engagement, and then 60 were categorized as evidence of emotional engagement. On behavioral engagement, the two most prominent sub-themes were contribution behaviors and on-task behaviors. Under cognitive engagement, the most prominent sub-themes were demonstrating understanding, pursuing understanding, and investing in a task. Over on the disengagement side, we received 433 pieces of evidence. Of these 433 pieces of evidence, 343 were behavioral in nature, 47 related to cognition, and 43 related to emotional engagement. On the behavioral front, the most prominent sub-themes were off-task behaviors, avoidance behaviors, distracted behaviors, and disruption behaviors. On the cognitive front, incomplete understanding and passivity, or like not participating in a lesson. Big takeaways from this graphic is that on the engagement side, you can see that teachers attended to all three facets of student engagement as noted by Fredericks et al. However, they primarily relied on behavioral and cognitive markers of student engagement. On the disengagement front, we can see clearly that teachers attend to behavioral markers of student disengagement and very infrequently rely on cognition or emotional. Up here, we can see that for the engagement-related evidence, 48% was devoted to behavioral markers of engagement. On the disengagement front, 78% of the evidence was devoted to behavioral markers of engagement. Down here on the bottom, we can see that 39% of positive engagement markers were grouped under cognition, while only 11% of disengagement markers were grouped under cognition. We note that in both cases, teachers did not pay much attention at all to emotional markers of student cognition. One of the things that we take away from this finding is that it seems that when it comes to positive student engagement, teachers are more likely to pay attention to all three types of student engagement, where disengagement, they tend to rely on behavioral markers of student disengagement. The 5 most frequent codes for disengagement all clustered under behavior. The 5 most frequent codes for engagement ended in all 3 categories. Also, we note that engaging appropriately in classroom dialogue is highly valued. The 2 most cited pieces of evidence of engagement were asking relevant questions and engaging in productive discussion. That is, most cited pieces of evidence across our whole data set. The 3rd most cited evidence was engaging in off-task talk, and that was under disengagement. So from this, we take away that teachers value students who are actively engaging in the classroom in a productive and verbal way. From these results, we offer the following conclusions and implications. So our findings regarding teachers' emphasis on behavior accords with the work of Skilling and could be problematic because behavioral engagement is not always a marker of cognitive engagement, as was noted by Pope. We note that research is needed to understand methods for supporting teachers in noticing markers of deep cognitive engagement and to build their belief that they can alter student engagement. So research would show that teachers do not always believe that they can alter student engagement. Research is needed to identify strategies for helping teachers to understand that they can indeed alter students' level of engagement and to provide them with strategies for both noticing students' cognitive, emotional, and behavioral engagement and enhancing students' cognitive, emotional, and behavioral engagement. Also, teachers' attentiveness to multiple facets of positive student engagement is promising. However, further research is needed to support teachers in noticing emotional and cognitive factors that could be used to re-engage disengaged students. We are concerned on the disengagement front that teachers are only noticing the negative behavioral aspects of student engagement, They aren't paying attention to student emotions. They aren't paying attention to student cognition. And we believe that helping teachers to be more attentive to these two facets for the disengaged student and providing them with strategies to help students become cognitively engaged and become emotionally engaged will ultimately help teachers to better deal with the disengaged student. Thank you for taking time to listen to this presentation. We welcome any and all questions you may have. You can send us questions through ResearchGate, or you can email me at vkite, it's VKITE, at ncsu.edu. Thank you.